Hello everyone. So today's topic is going to be on bubble sort. So bubble sort, it is one of the simplest and easy sorting technique compared to insertion sort and selection sort. So in my previous video I have just uploaded the concept of insertion sort and selection sort. Now let's move on with the bubble sort. This sorting is very simple when compared to insertion sort and the selection sort. Okay, now let me first teach you the basic idea behind bubble sort, how exactly the sorting is done. So I'm going to perform sorting in ascending order. Sorting is based on ascending order. I will be taking the same example which I had taken to explain insertion sort and the selection sort. So for example, if my array elements are, the list are 2, 6, 5, 1, 3 and 4. If this is the array list. So let me teach you how exactly sorting is done in case of bubble sort. So first trace. So iteration 1. The given elements are 2, 6, 5, 1, 3 and 4. Right? Now what we actually do is we first check the first two elements. There is a check between the first two elements. What do we check? We check whether 2 is greater than 6. The first element is greater than the second element. If it is not greater, nothing happens, leave as it is, move on to the next element. So in the second case, we cross check between 6 and 7. We check whether 6 is greater than 5. Yes, if 6 is greater than 5, there is a swap between these two numbers. So what exactly happens? It is 2, 5, 6, 1, 3 and 4. There is swap between 6 and 5. Now there is a check between 6 and 1. 6 is greater than 1, so there is a swap required. So 2, 5, 1, 6, 3 and 4. Between 1 and 6, 6 is greater, so there is a swap. Now there is check between 6 and 3. Is 6 greater than 3? Yes. If 6 is greater than 3, there is a swap required. So the numbers are 3, 6 and 4. 3 and 6 are swapped. The position is swapped. Next, there is check between 6 and 4. 6, we check whether 6 is greater than 4. Yes, 6 is greater than 4. There is a swap needed here. So the elements will be 2, 5, 1, 3, 4 and 6. Fine. Now, second iteration, since there are no further elements, we stop, which means the first greatest element has been identified and it is moved to the last index. Okay. Now, trace 2. What happens? Since 6 is the greatest of the number of the array list and it is moved to the last index position, now we have to check for the second largest number. So again we have to proceed with the same concept. So the current array elements would be 2, 5, 1, 3, 4 and 6. Now let's check between 2 and 5. We check whether 2 is greater than 5. No, nothing happens. So array elements remains as it is. Okay, then we check between 5 and 1. We check whether 5 is greater than 1. Yes, 5 is greater than 1. There is a swap needed. So the numbers 5 and 1 are swapped. So 2, 1, 5, 3, 4 and 6. Now we check between 5 and 3. Which is greater? 5 is greater. So 1, 2, 1, 3, 5, 4, 6. Now between 5 and 4 is checked. So 2, 1, 3. Since it is greater, 4, 5, 6. Since 6 is already sorted, we should not check between 5 and 6. We have to stop our checking before the last sorted number. This is the actual concept of bubble sort. So we just stop till here. Okay, and then now if you check after trace 2, 5 and 6, there are two numbers which are already sorted. Now we have to select the remaining elements and we have to try sorting. Now let's proceed with the third iteration. So third iteration, what is the actual number? 2, 1, 3, 4, 5 and 6. This is the actual array elements. Fine. Okay, now since 5 and 6 are already sorted, I have to check only between 2, 1, 3 and 4. So let me check between 2 and 1. We check 2 is greater than 1. Yes, 2 is greater. We need to swap. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 as it is. Then second element with the third element. 2 greater than 3, no, there is no change, so we leave as it is. Then next time when it is checking, it will be between 3 and 4. Is 3 greater than 4? No, so there is a swap. A swap is not required, so we stop. So next iteration, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, now there is check between 1 and 2. Is 1 greater than 2? No, nothing happens. Then it checks between 2 and 3. It is not greater, so we leave as it is. We don't go further in order to check the remaining sorted elements. Now final trace, there will be check between 1 and 2. Since it's not greater, the final sorted list will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So this is the basic logic of bubble sort. Okay, now let me proceed on with the Python code in order to implement the bubble sort. So now what are we actually doing? Let me teach you how exactly to write the Python program. We are just checking with the current element with the next element. If it is greater, we need a swap. Okay, then we move on. For this, to check between the elements, we need one for loop. Okay, so this is one iteration. To find out one greatest number and move it to the last index position, we need to have one for loop. Then second iteration, see the second iteration, we are identifying the second number and moving it to the respective position. Okay, so for this again we are performing the same task for the second element. So we need one more for loop in order to continue. So we need two for loops in order to check each and every element, the greatest element, and move it to the corresponding position. Okay, now let me start writing the Python code. Python code for bubble sort. Now see how do I actually write. So first I need to initialize the array elements. So I'll just take array is equal to 2, 6, 5, 1, 3 and 4. It is a list. Then I make a function call to bubble sort and pass array as the argument. Now since this is a function call, I need to write the function definition using the keyword def. So def bubble sort of argument array ending with the colon. Fine. Now I need to first find out what is the size of the array. Size of the array could be found out using len function. So size, I declare one more variable called size, len of array. Now size will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements of the list. Okay, now since I have to check, see the logic, I have to check between first number with the second number whether it is greater or not. So I need one for loop in order to move between each and every element. So I write for j in range of array size minus, I write -1 because once the greatest element has been pushed to its correct index, we have to ignore for the second iteration. So I have to skip one element lesser, which means when the last one is moved to, when the greater number is moved to the last index, I need not check because there are no further element. See here, after the first sort, 6, since there are no further elements, I need not check with the next element. So what do I do when I'm writing the code? I just give for j in range size or size -1. Okay, that's why I give size -1. Then we have to check. So now it moved from first index number to the last before index number. Fine. I have to check if array of j is greater than array of j plus 1, right? have to check whether array of j is greater than array of j plus 1. If so, if it is greater, we have to swap. So what is the swapping logic? I already taught you. Array of j, comma, array of j plus 1 is equal to array of j plus 1, comma, array of j. So we do the swapping here, and let me print the array here. Okay, after completing this. So let me trace the code and then I'll continue. The code is still not finished yet. Let me trace the code and teach you how to proceed with the remaining steps. Okay, trace 1. Array elements are, I'll write here, it is 2, 6, 5, 1, 3 and 4. Right? Now, it will come here. What is j? J is equal to 0. Size value is equal to 6. So 0 to 6 minus 1, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Not after that. You understood why I am giving size minus 1 here? So indexing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, not after that. We check if array of j. What is array of j? If array of 0 is greater than array element of 1. Is 2 greater than 6? No. So nothing happens. It never enters here. What happens after this? It goes back to the next iteration. What happens? J is equal to 1 to 5. Correct? 1 to 5. Now again we are checking if array of 1 is greater than array of j plus 1 is 2. Is 1 greater than the next number? Yes, if it is greater, we just make a swap. So it will be 2, 5, 6, 1, 3 and 4. Okay. Now after swapping is performed. Swap value 6 and 5. So after swapping, what happens? It goes back. Now again, j value is equal to 2 to 5. Now we check if array of 2 is greater than array of 2 plus 1 is 3. Now we check, is 2 greater than the next number? Yes, it's true. Then what do? We write swap 6 and 1. So it becomes 2, 5, 1, 6, 3 and 4. Okay. Now again, j value is 3 to 5. We check if array of 3 is greater than array of 4. Is 6 greater than 3? Okay, yes. Swap 6 and 3. Okay, so it becomes 2, 5, 1, 3, 6 and 4. Now j value is equal to 4 to 5. Now we perform if array of 4 is greater than array of 5. We are checking between 6 and 4. Yes, it's greater. So we swap 6 and 4. Okay. So it will be 2, 5, 1, 3, 4 and 6. Now j value becomes 5 to 5. It doesn't hold good. So we stop the iteration here. Right? Correct? After swapping, after the entire completion of this for loop, how many numbers are sorted here? Only one number has been pushed to the correct index value. Now suppose I want to repeat this again for the remaining numbers. Then what we have to do? We have to add one more for loop. Now let me add for I in range of, I just write 2. For example, 2. I am writing for I in range of 2. Now what happens? Okay, I will be, initially I will be 0, 0 to 2, it is true, so it enters. After swapping everything, okay, now the control will go back to outermost for loop during my trace 1, correct? After trace 1, I have added one more for loop here before the inner for loop, then it goes back. Now trace 2, what happens? Trace 2, what is I value? 1 to 2, right? It is 1 to 2. Now what happens? Again it comes. J is equal to 0, 0 to 5. Now you have to check here, j is equal to 0 to 5. So now what is actually happening here, 0 to 5? Again I'm checking from 2 to 6. I will be performing from 2 to 6, right? So what did I tell you in bubble sort? After one number being sorted, we need not check for the other number. So there's one more change here. Let me tell you that. So let me move on here. So what happens? This is the current status of the array elements. Now what do? We check whether 2 is greater than 5. 2 is not greater than 5, so nothing happens. Then when j value is equal to 1 to 5, now we are checking between 5 and 1. 5 is greater, so there is a swap. So what happens? 2, 1, 5, 3, 4 and 6, right? Now next, j is equal to 2 to 5. Now there's check between 5 and 3, correct? 5 is greater, what happens? 2, 1, 3, 5, 4 and 6. J is equal to 3 to 5. Now we check between 5 and 4. Yes, it's greater. So 2, 1, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now j value is equal to 4 to 5. Correct. Now there is check between here, nothing happens, so we leave. But actually this is not required. So let me make a change there. I'll teach you that later. Fine. Now what is happening? When I added for I in range of 2, I've added, which means this for loop to be executed. Once when I'm executing this single for loop, one number was sorted. When I incremented, when I wanted to perform the entire innermost for loop once again twice, what is happening? We are able to sort two numbers. So how many numbers we have to sort in the similar way? Size minus 1. Understood? So the first for loop will be for I in range size minus 1. Correct? So till here, size minus 1, which means till the first index value I have to add. That's why we give size minus 1. You understood? Then fine. So after this one, when you do size minus 1, how many times we'll be doing here? For I 0 to 5, the value will be changed to 5. So for the remaining 5 numbers, we have to perform the same sorting technique. Fine. But what did I say in bubble sort? Once when the greater number has been pushed to the correct index value, we have to skip this, right? So when I did the first innermost for loop, the last one was sorted. When I added one more number, which means twice the innermost for loop should be added, 2 numbers were sorted. Correct. When I increment the number of times to 3, then 3 numbers will be sorted. 4 numbers will be sorted, right? So the outermost for loop will have the number of sorted element. So when it comes inside to perform the sorting, then here it should be size minus 1 minus I. Size minus 1 minus I. So when you give this, then each and every element, when it is sorted, when it comes inside, okay, the last sorted element till the number, the iteration will not proceed. So it stops. You're clear? Now if I come here, just check here for j in range of size minus 1 minus I. So what happens? What is size? 5 minus 1 minus, when I is equal to 0, 6 minus 1 minus, initially when I value is 0, it becomes 5, right? When it is 5, one number will be sorted. So when I give 6 minus 1 minus 1, when I value is equal to 1, it will be 6 minus 2, which is 4, which means from 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, it will not execute the next one. Okay, when I value is equal to 2, it will be 6 minus 1 minus 2, that is equal to 3, which means 0, 1, 2 and 3. So 2 numbers will not be selected. You understood? So the actual code will be for j in range of size minus 1 minus I. Now you understood the logic. So when you proceed this, the entire number will be sorted. Okay, so the output will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. This is the actual code for bubble sort. For I in range size minus 1, The number of times the innermost for loop will be decided by the outermost for loop. Then the innermost for loop will be for j in range of size minus 1 minus I. So this minus I is very important because in order to reduce, not checking these already sorted numbers in the list. Okay, so I hope you understood the logic of bubble sort. Thank you.